Welcome back to the channel, people. Today's live stream will be about managers, who are textbook managers who have studied to get there in construction versus the ones who are tradespeople and have worked their way up. I've got an important question for you guys. I want you to tell me in the comments, what's been your experience of both situations, and what have you learned more from in any of these situations? You know, like, I've had textbook managers myself, and I've also had managers who have started from being a plumber, got themselves to being a supervisor, built their way up and got their management and stuff like that, and now they're managing and running the site. So it's a hot day, but I thought, you know what? My streams have been getting very interesting with a lot of you guys dropping comments, supporting the channel, subscribing, pressing like. But most of all, the comments, what you guys have been dropping has been amazing. It's been great for me to reply to everybody, because I definitely do reply to everybody. So I'm encouraging anyone who is even new around here, you know, if it's the first time and you see my videos, today I'm going to be breaking down, are the best construction managers the ones who study and get their qualification like that, versus the ones who go through the trade and build themselves up. So for those who don't normally come to my live stream, I'm going to talk a little bit about myself, because first time you see me, innit? I'm a plumber, and I started my plumbing journey well over 23 years ago. So I've got quite a lot of experience being a plumber. I've worked on numerous different sites. I used to work on sites. I used to work and do price work years and years ago. And I've done maintenance, and I'm talking about maintenance on the high end as well. So high-end residential maintenance I've done a lot of as well. And I've run my own plumbing company, right? And I learned my trade when I done my apprenticeship, right? So I went to college, and the rest of the 4 days I was working with a tradesman. At some point, it must have been about 12 or 15 years into me being a plumber, I decided I wanted to go down the route of becoming a supervisor. So it's a SSSTS course, site supervisor course, right? And if you're an engineer, you have your engineers on site, and then you have your supervisor, and then you have your manager, right? So for myself, I always thought about a way of how I can climb that ladder and potentially become a manager if I felt like it. If I felt like the opportunity was right for me and I got enough experience, I would definitely give it a go, because like I said, I've worked my way up from just being a plumber to being a supervisor. And I was a supervisor at high-end residential properties in Chelsea and quite a lot of other places as well. So I've experienced that for good part of like 8 years, right? So I'm kind of ready to make the next step to management and whatever in the so forth future, whether it be lead engineer, which I have been quite a lot as well, or being a senior engineer. That as well is something which I can now step into while being a supervisor for 5 to 6 years period, because you've got enough hours doing that job, so you understand what the job entails for you to be a plumbing supervisor, right? Or site supervisor, in case you do building services. Like I do building services. I do business services right now. But the biggest lesson, what you'll learn in construction, it isn't always in the classroom. And I think some people don't get that, because you see, like life experience, yeah, it has to equal into something, you know. having someone who's studied how to be a manager, got there, problems arose, or something's happened, and then you've turned around and said to them, oh, but what's the contingency plan? They've turned around and said, sorry, what's the contingency plan? The fact that you've repeated what I've said, I know you don't understand what it is. And that becomes a problem. But that's like my personal problem with that person if they do that in that specific scenario, right? But understanding the job and what it actually takes, that's where we start looking at the manager who has studied. Do they understand what a manager, like the role entails in general? Sometimes no. And sometimes they are learning on the job, which I've seen a few times personally. You know, I've spoke to a few managers who I've had before, me being the supervisor, and them saying to me, oh, you know, what should we do now? I was hoping you knew what to do now, because it is your decision at the end of the day. People can just give you suggestions, but ultimately you need to make your mind up, because we're following your lead, right? They know the pressures of the trades, because when you're in the construction trade, yeah, the pressure of the trade is like face on, right? So if something went wrong on a site, people want to know who's to blame, who was responsible at that time, why was that person over there? And it's very confrontational, right? There will not be something what will happen like a major accident or an accident, like say you've got supplies being delivered to a site or something like that, and the lorry topples over or someone gets hit or something like that. People want to know who's in charge. That's what they want to know, ultimately. But I think even in the media, we've seen a few different dealings of sloppy management, let's say. And I say sloppy management because it's something which everyone has seen. And I'm going to talk about it. It's Grenfell. Like the management of what was going on down there on that project was horrendous. I mean, the people have never had to answer for anything, which is very weird. But I just wanted to add that in. Were those people not tradespeople who are built up from being cladders to being managers to being supervisors? Are they not that group of people? Are they someone who was textbook and didn't have the life experience within what should we do if this does happen? Have we checked every single type of material which we are going to use, and is it compliant? Like, I think when you start to understand about compliance and stuff like that, especially in building services, yeah, it doesn't get techie. It's very straightforward, right? But you got to know what you're doing. You got to know that the type of splashback you're going to be putting in, like a bathroom or something like that, is it one which doesn't hold diseases? Has it got a foam at the front of it? Has it got like, do you know what I mean? Is it compliant to be able to be in where we're asking it to be? These are the things what managers have got to know. And you've got to follow those guidelines as well. Right. So again, with the textbook managers, I just want to ask you guys something. Like, the better planning, does it come from, like, when we're planning a job with a textbook manager who's just come into this industry, right? Are they going to understand the planning, what goes into the works? Because if they've never done the works themselves, how are they going to fully understand that part of the process? oh yeah, we need to isolate it down there, and then we need to chop out the pipe, and then we need to put a new one. How long's do you reckon that's going to be? Like an hour or something? Sorry, an hour. We need to isolate. We need to tell people 24 hours before because they haven't got a supply. Oh, okay. So how long do you reckon that's going to take then? 2 days? Well, we can't tell if we run into a problem before we get there, can we? No. So there's an understanding what goes into the manager's role when they're dealing with health and safety and understanding it on site versus what they've been shown on textbook, right? Processes can be different. Is it easier, or do the person who's come from the university textbook, do they find it easier to communicate with subcontractors? Because subcontractors are going to speak in terminologies which you kind of have to be in the trade to understand, right? Even when it comes to their report, there's going to have to be some know on what someone is exactly talking about, right? Perfect example is that I worked somewhere for a little while, yeah? And this company, who are subcontractors, used to come into this university in London, right? And they used to charge them for cleaning and chlorinating the tanks. And I was the supervisor at the time. So I said to the manager, her name was Claire, by the way. Wonder if Claire's ever watching. Right. I said to Claire, it's funny how they charge you for tanks what are not there. She goes, what do you mean? There's 2 tanks on the upper roof as you go up. I said, there's no tanks there. Because you've never been up there physically, you don't understand what is up there. There is no tanks. Everything is fed from the mains. They've been telling you that they've been coming to the site, cleaning and chlorinating the tank when that doesn't exist. And if it exists, ask them to show you some photographic evidence of them cleaning the tank. She couldn't say, you don't need to. You do need to do an SST. How are you going to get a site supervisor if you haven't got SST? That's the qualification, site supervisor. I could go and get you the qualification now, but then everyone would see my government name. I'm not trying to do that, but we can Google it right now. That was to someone in the chat that said that. I don't know why you said that, but I'm always interested to know how you got to that answer, my friends. Anyway, let's keep going. Is the student who came from university, who is now a manager, going to be able to spot out problems before they actually happen without not having experience within that part of management? Like, because they've never seen something happen or an accident was waiting to happen at work, could they spot that out before? Are they going to be more aware or more not aware of the situation? Because even when I was starting to make this video, yeah, to find out the facts, what I want to talk about and stuff like that, there is actually no data online which exists to show you if there's more people who are coming through the studying university textbook way than versus the trade way. There's actually no data online available. So I wonder why that is. So the textbook manager can struggle with a few different things, right? So let's talk about some of the things what they could possibly struggle with, because I've seen these things happening. Planning projects. So a project's going ahead. They're not aware of how many days the project might take. I've been doing plumbing. Sorry, 1 second. This person keeps jumping in. I appreciate you jumping in. Is Anthony? I've been doing plumbing for 55 years without no SST. That's cat. Well, I don't know where you've been doing plumbing, but if someone employs you, they want to see certificates. And that's what we do on my channel. We speak about the right type of certificates, what you need for the job. You can't just jump in and tell people, I'm a supervisor because I've been doing plumbing for X amount of years. Nobody cares about that. We care about qualifications and having the right qualifications. I'll never tell someone not to on my own jobs. Bro, come on, man. Come on, man. Anyway, I appreciate you answering, Anthony, but that doesn't make much sense. Let's proceed with what I was going to say. So managers can obviously struggle with planning projects, because if they've never planned a project or even put up a shed in their house, how are they going to start to understand the processes, what go into getting a project set up at their place of work, and obviously executing it on time, making sure that it doesn't go over budget, making sure that they're aware of what contractors are coming in, who's doing what work, and obviously letting the rest of the team know. When it comes to projects, I've seen people struggle a lot with stuff like this, just because just not got a Scooby, just don't know. They just don't know. And sometimes I feel obliged as someone who has been around enough managers to be able to help, but other times I just kick back in it, because you're never really going to learn anything in life if people keep telling you shit. What you're going to learn is you're going to learn from when you fuck up and make mistakes. Just how it is. Some of the best people are probably fucked up the most. They've got enough stories to tell at the pub, believe me. So another thing what they've got to do, they've got to learn how to budget and manage risks as well. So understanding risk assessments, method statements, RAMs and stuff like that, which need to be in place for contractors to come to their site, to possibly do work, to undertake work safely as well. Going back to the understanding of these things allows someone to understand what actually really does go on inside a manager's brain, or what a manager will be doing. They will also be working with certain levels, certain different types of software, right? But it's like me telling you that you're working with an Excel spreadsheet. It's like, do you know how to use it or not, innit? They're never going to put you up on some software or documents which you're not sure what they are. There's always someone for them to obviously ask if this is right or if it's not. So where does the problem or the issue start, or where does it lie? I know I'm getting... Shout out the guys in the chat, man. Appreciate everyone in the chat, always jumping on and making it interesting, because I feel that some of you lot at home will be watching this, maybe not at a live time, but I appreciate you guys to comment and tell me your experience as well, what it's been like. We've all had different types of managers, whether they've been really helpful or whether they've been an arsehole, or whether they've built their way up from being a tradesperson and now they're no longer on the tools, but they have an understanding what you do, what subcontractors do, what they need to do for method statements, risk assessments, budgeting, being aware of their community, and having obviously contacts. Good contacts for a manager will help them out a lot. You know, I have seen a lot of managers who have previously been at other sites. When they come to this site, they possibly want to use the same people as they used before, because they know they get the job done. Do you know what I mean? They know that what it takes, and they know that they can trust within those people. Sometimes they get to new sites and they can't trust the people who are there, innit? They know they're messing about, playing the arse. So we have to ask ourselves, yeah, with people who don't have this level of experience or exposure to life and when it comes to construction, how do they deal with it? Where does the big problem start? So let's talk about managers who never do installs and have that technical ability to them to be able to diagnose and understand problems, which are like everyday shit, you know, like let's say like the chillers went down. Let's say there was a problem with a boiler. Do they understand that like the hot water, the secondary pump heats up the plate heat exchanger, and through the plate heat exchanger it transfers onto the district heating, which goes round and feeds the coil for the outlets like the hot water taps and stuff like that? Do they know stuff like that? It's a fair question sometimes. And again, when they have every opportunity to be able to read up on stuff like this and understand it for themselves, how much can they actually take away? Because we can all only soak in so much every day, you know. Like too much information makes people's head pop, right? So I'm wondering how that works for some of you guys. Do you find that some managers who are like that, like I said, come from a textbook, come from a place of like, I studied and then I got this manager's job, are they the ones who turn around and want to do the micromanaging? Because if they're so close to your face and your bum, they can see everything what you do, and you know, if they're not stupid, they could probably work it out, right, without you not even telling them. So sometimes the ones who are really close are doing this, I'm learning off you. The ones who obviously are been to uni, done that textbook graft way, they're more, or they can be more focused on things like spreadsheets, information, KPIs and stuff like that, instead of looking into the real problems on site, right? And I understand that they've all got to keep to whatever deal they've said, you know, like, oh, if we get our KPIs up, you get a bonus. Well, they get a bonus, not you. That's not shared with everyone. Just want to let you know that, innit? That does happen a lot sometimes because people save money in their accounts and they're able to get a little, you know, backhand or whatever you want to call it. So what makes a great construction manager? This is what I want to ask you guys, people, because I've had loads of different ones. I've had technical managers who know what they're talking about, right? I mean, I could say I probably had about 3 in a space of 20 years, right? They need to have good communication skills. Respect is something that they're trying to gain from a lot of the people who are working for them. And I think it's something what you strive for inside a workplace when you're looking for a healthy environment. And let's be fucking real, people. A lot of construction environments are not that fucking healthy. You know, people be swearing, people be doing drugs, people be fucking disliking people just because someone else makes more money than them or gets more overtime. You know, it's a bitchy place. I'm not gonna lie to you. But anyway, let's move on. They need to be respectful. They need to learn how to obviously plan jobs ahead, because a good manager is able to do that, right? Tell me if this makes a good manager, someone who's able to listen to you. You know, they might not be the best at everything else, but they're able to listen to you, give you your 5 minutes, listen to the problems which might be happening on site, and possibly come up with some type of solution. But they're willing. I think when someone's willing to listen to you, they have a little bit, they have respect. You know, I'll be real with you. There are a lot of managers that feel like, look, I don't get paid to listen to your shit. And I say technical, like they need to have this technical ability, because I would like someone who would be able to solve a problem. Mm-hmm. And a good manager in construction is definitely someone who has direction on making decisions under pressure. Clock that T. Learning from experience, and that's one of the other things that I wanted to say. So, have you had both of these types of managers before? That's a question I want to ask people. I want to ask you guys in the chat as well. Have you ever had any of these types of managers before? You know, someone who is book, they've come through uni and they've jumped in and now they're in construction. Never picked up a hammer in their life, but they're here today. Have you ever had anyone like that? Like a manager, I'm asking. And who was the best manager you've ever had? I want you to leave their full name so we can check them out on Facebook. I'm joking, but I do want you to tell me. And I have a few other things to say to you guys as well, which is it's bloody hot doing this live, yeah? So I'd appreciate a lot of you lot if you smash that subscribe button, liked, dropped a comment, because I honestly think hard about these types of videos, what I want to put up, because I want people to conversate about them. I want you to think about if someone was a manager and they had 20 years experience on the tools with a degree and work experience, would you rather have them as your manager in construction, or are you not that bothered? You know, it's just a question I want to ask people. And can you become a great manager without working in the trade in construction? That is the question, people. It's always interesting to know what you guys think, because through my experience myself, yeah, I've had shit managers, I've had okay managers. Like, so one of my first managers, yeah, is a company called Claremont Mechanical Services. They're good guys, man. So my first manager, he was a plumber by trade, right? So he grew his business, and we was a mechanical engineer company, right? And I think at its peak, maybe there was about 25 people that worked for. No, it's probably about 30 people that worked for them. Yeah, at its biggest point, he understood the job of being a plumber. I can't say that he was the best, amazing manager because he was someone who was a tradesperson, but I can say that if you had a problem, yeah, doing something, you could explain it to him, and with his technical ability, he could tell you how to do it or what's the best way to do it. No, I wouldn't do it there. What I would do, I would cut it out there, and then I would thread the pipe back, and then I would do, and it would make you think, fucking hell, the old boy still knows what he's talking about. Do you know what I mean? Versus, I've had managers who are not technical, but they've went to uni to get their management degree or whatever they've done, and they've been okay. They've obviously lacked in sometimes communication skills and understanding the job, what the role entails, how long something does take you. So it makes the situation not be so smooth. Like a job which needs a subcontractor come in, they might be asking, "Oh, well, why can't we do it, or why can't you guys do it on the weekend?" We can't do it on the weekend because I'm not qualified to do that. I'm not insured to do that type of work here. That's why. You know, the fact that you need me to tell you, I mean, it's a red flag already. But I feel that most days in construction, yeah, you're gonna learn something. And if you fuck about, you'll find out. Do you know what I mean? I think it's the construction trade in general. There are a lot of mistakes that get made day to day, right? And people can tend to cover up for their mistakes depending on how high up they are. Just because when you're managing a big team, let's say, it's hard for that manager to know all of their employees individually and obviously be on the same page as everyone else who works there, right? I'm talking about communicating. It's a difficult job just to juggle that much amount of people in general, right? And after time, they probably learn who they can ask to do stuff and who they can't, just because of how they react towards them, and if stuff gets done, right? Because at the end of the day, they've got to find out a way how they can communicate with you if you're an engineer, if you're a subcontractor, to be able to get the job done, but get it done in a timely fashion. And for the obviously cost what you agreed on, because they've all got budgets in it, so they have to bide their time as well, because everyone hasn't got the same amount of money. And things cost, innit? You know, imagine someone had a site right now, yeah, and it being the heat wave right now in London is still like what, 28 degrees, chillers went down, or booster pump went down, ain't no water in the building. The engineer who's on site is now going to call the technical supervisor who is on call, right? That person is supposed to solve the problem or come to a solution for the engineer to do, or instruct them to do, whether they get out contractors, whether they investigate into it, whether they now open a contingency plan and say, well, what are we going to do now that we've got no pressure? What we do is this. Do you get it? So again, the manager might be informed that this is happening via email, but it might not be something like super urgent for them to jump on. But even when they do jump on it, do they understand what it supplies? What are the ramifications if this unit's not on? Sometimes it's a no, man. They just want to know it's working again. They don't want to know why. They ain't going to read the report. 9 times out of 10, from my personal experience, I wouldn't say that the managers read that, because I've asked in different scenarios, and when I do give reports, yeah, when I'm at 9 to 5 jobs, yeah, I try and give the best report as possible. I couldn't give a fuck if it's like 2 pages long. I don't care. I'm gonna tell you everything. Yeah, I've done this, then I tested this, and then I tested that, and then I've done this. This is the conclusion what I got to. What do you think? I don't say what do you think at the end because I want to pass the buck or pass the blame, because you find people who are under those managers trying to pass the buck, because blame is a big thing in construction, right? And if the manager is in control, by rights, people think they should take the fluck of it. They should take the main weight of what goes on, which is true to some degree, but it isn't helpful if we're all working together. Sorry. So yeah, I'll always ask you guys like, what do you think? And we've got someone who's been Andy, who's been a plumber for 55 years. That's a long time. How old are you, man? Just curious, 55 years is a long time. So you must be about 60 or 70. I'm in 55 years. Yeah, but how old are you, man? Sorry, people. I'm asking them in the chat how old they are. You're 76. Jesus, you can't be working. Lad. Nah, good on you, man. If you're 76 and you're still doing plumbing work and you enjoy it, it's really good for you at the end of the day, I do. That's good to hear, man. I think some of us need something to do, some purpose, and you can see that you can have a long career within being a plumber. But today's conversation was to talk about anyone who is interested in becoming a manager, and to talk about what we do see a lot in this industry, which is people who have been to uni and never been on the tools in their life, but next Thursday, Steve is your new manager. You just come down from Sussex, or he used to live in Oxford, Cambridge, or something, whatever. It doesn't really matter where he lives. The point is that I wanted to tell you about some statistics, which was, where is it? I got it here. Don't worry, people. I hope you look like my thumbnail as well, man. I put some effort into that as well. Right, here's the points as well. Make sure you lot are subscribed as well, Play about, man. Some of you lot have not been subscribed. So there are multiple routes to get into management, So I just want to remind people, for anyone who is thinking about it, university degrees, that's one route, apprenticeships, and working your way up from site manager or trade. So there's a direct way of experience and qualifications. So if anybody was looking or thinking about a route to be able to get in, there's numerous different routes for you to take. There's not one route which is mainly recommended or valued over others. That's what's interesting at the moment, people. So if anybody is interested, I could possibly have another more a technical conversation on this on a live if you want about this. You just got to let me know in the comment section, really, and I'll reply to you. But just please don't forget the questions what I've asked you. So construction skilled network, what is in the UK, I've got this information off online, So around 225,000 additional construction workers, construction managers are needed by 2027. So that's about another 1,100 in new projects, which will be needed, right? So that's what they need. So I feel that with that type of information, we'll understand that we'll be starting to see a lot more, so most employers now value a bit of both, right? So when I mean a bit of both, I don't mean brown ketchup. I don't mean ketchup and brown sauce, right? I mean they value qualifications and experience. So what they want to see from anyone who is thinking about exploring it, which is technical qualifications, site experience, and leadership skills. And I know that everyone who is like a tradesperson doesn't always possess all of those things, which there's nothing wrong with, you know. Like I said, we've got Anthony who's here in the chat and he's been a plumber for 55 years, people. You ain't got to go down the management route. There's other routes to go down. My question to you guys now, yeah, should every manager have worked on the tools before? As a question, do you feel that every manager within construction should have worked on the tools before? Who would you trust more? Someone who's never installed anything but asking you to build something as a manager? Or can you see yourself with no experience and background and earning respect when you're on site? You know, if you was a manager, could you see yourself doing that? Or could you see a manager doing that? Is universities providing managers who are ready for site? So when they go to uni to learn their site management course, are the universities getting them ready to manage a site? Who's more valuable? Someone with 10 years experience on the tools in construction with a manager's degree? Is that person more valuable than the other person who has got the same qualifications but just doesn't have the experience? Because this, you see time and time again, you know, I can't tell you about the amount of sites what I've been to and I've seen this be the case. But I always want you guys to answer the question. So please do drop your comments and let me know what you think. I'm going to log off now. It's baking hot. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, people, and I'll definitely see you on the next upload. Drop your comments about the questions, and I will get back to you guys. But let me know if you want more of a deep dive into this type of conversation when we're talking about managers and stuff like that. Or you've got an idea for a different topic. Maybe I'll post something on my pinup board to ask you guys a question, but I'd appreciate if you all liked the stream and dropped a little comment after. Hope you guys are having a great day. My name is Mr. London Plumber. Join the community, people. Join the community. Yeah? Like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe.